You wake up with a rune-shaped birthmark on your palm and a stack of grimoires at the foot of your bed, like it's your job to be perpetually drowning in required reading. Congratulations, you're a wizard. Also, congratulations. The universe has just outsourced every minor inconvenience in your life to arcane forces. First day problems. Your alarm clock refuses to ring because clocks are in a bitter union with time-meddling wizards. Your houseplants thrive, but only if you read bedtime poems to them in Old Common. Your phone complains about incompatible metaphysical component and refuses to connect to anything that isn't a Coven-grade scrying stone. Coffee tastes like ash because the coffee plant hates being charmed. You learn very fast that the modern world was not made for people who can turn rain into frogs with a sneeze. School was worse. Other kids had homework. You had destiny. Teachers expected you to memorize 1,000 runes before lunch and recite the ethics of conjuration without blinking or cracking a smile. Group projects were a nightmare. Someone inevitably tried to bind a lesser demon for a science fair volcano, and now half the cafeteria has sulfur stains. Field trips to the museum become security incidents because you take the do not touch signs as personally offensive. Exams are still standardized, but the essay section inexplicably includes transmute the invigilator's pen into a nightingale as a grading differential. There are practical problems, the kind that hit you when you're trying to live a normal life. Robes do not survive the washing machine. Socks keep inscribing themselves with marginalia. You learn to avoid bright colors because your cloak will eat anything it considers aesthetically inferior. You can't buy regular shoes. Your feet slightly phase when you're excited, and you end up wearing slippers with reinforced stitching. The tailor will demand 3 goats and a sigil for alterations. Even your door lock wants to be addressed by title. Friendships? Fragile. People call you mysterious, which is a polite way of saying dangerous, or that friend who brought a small tornado to a barbecue. You try Tinder. It is a scavenger hunt of folks who either want to be enchanted or exorcised. Birthday parties are complicated. Candles combust into polite little spirits that sing show tunes and won't stop until you've performed a minor ritual of gratitude. Babies cry more around you because you are radiating ancestral prophecy or the scent of elderwood, depending on the day. Then there's money. Wizards don't get regular paychecks. You have to charge by the hex, the consultation, the disruption to local ley lines. Your taxes are assessed by a tribunal that still uses quills and also measures your tax bracket according to how many times you turned your landlord into a toad. There were extenuating circumstances. The economy is weird. Enchanted objects are artisanal and overpriced. Mundane work pays less because why hire a plumber when you can summon a water elemental who suspects capitalism is a frivolous concept? You attempt freelancing, offering occasional curse removal, very reasonable, and acquire a client base that alternates between thankful and vaguely threatening. Family expectations are a tidal wave of pressure. Your parents are proud, of course, because ancestral prestige is the one reliable constant. But being the family's chosen conduit for ancient power means you're on call for weddings, funerals, bad harvests, and Aunt Maribel's recurring curse of spontaneous knitting. Heirloom spells are a burden. You inherit the mantle, the secrets, and the one scroll that screams whenever you dance. Siblings will use your title to get favors. Can you hex my calculus test? And then complain when your answer is morally complicated and also in iambic pentameter. Romance is a funhouse. Love potions are unethical, and everyone knows it, which means people will ask for one anyway. Your dating life alternates between enchanted soulmate and you tried to summon my ex as a practical joke, a nuance most people cannot appreciate. On the rare good date, you accidentally conjure a small constellation to impress someone and then spend the next week fielding calls from astronomers. The bureaucracy is endless. Magical societies love committees. You must file forms in triplicate with a seal that requires the blood of a mildly annoyed crow. Registration is a saga. What's your primary school of magic? They ask. Laundry, you want to answer. You must also pay into the Integrity Fund, which compensates ordinary citizens for consequences of low-level hexing, like when your sneeze accidentally rearranged someone's personality. The danger is not always dragons and duels, though those exist and they are inconveniently loud. The real hazard is subtle. Power corrodes patience. Every trivial appliance is a temptation. You can instantly fix anything. That's the trouble. Magic makes it seductive to skip the struggle. Where non-magical people learn to plan, to save, to mend their mistakes through daily repetition, you can always flick a finger and wave away consequences. That convenience leaves you lonely in a way that applause cannot fill. People assume you can fix heartbreak. Spells don't mend trust. They circle the outside like polite ghosts. And obsession creeps in. You measure success by the scale of the problem you can solve. The first time you fixed a blight with a single incantation, you were elated. The next year, you couldn't sleep unless you were stabilizing tectonic faults for fun. Hunger for bigger, grander spells is the most insidious trap, a void in the center of your chest where ordinary joy used to sit. Some wizards become monuments to their own ambition, with marble halls and statues of their many slightly embarrassed apprentices. Familiar life is its own brand of misery. Cats judge you. Owls don't care. Impish familiars require feeding, affection, and occasionally legal counsel when they flirt with the wrong bureaucrat. You bond with a raven who steals your keys and your dignity. Familiars are loyal until they realize loyalty is boring. Then they become performance artists with your catalog of embarrassing secrets. You tried therapy once. You conjured an ethereal counselor that argued back and gave you more homework. Ethics is a minefield. You can alter minds, rewind time in small increments, summon miracles. Each choice has ripples. You do a small good deed, reverse a drought, and find out a neighboring valley now suffers an unusually enthusiastic growth of singing mushrooms. There's always a bill to nature. There's always a ledger. You learn to be cautious, and caution in your trade tastes like cordite and loneliness. You do fewer shows, make fewer headlines, and begin to understand that restraint in magic is love wearing a dull coat. And then there is immortality, if you're lucky. Living a very long life sounds great until you realize that everyone else is turning pages while you remain the same dog-eared volume. You outlive friends, trends, and dessert menus. You watch new ideologies rise and fall like seasons and find your old jokes no longer land. You keep a scrapbook of faces you used to know, labeled in the hand of a younger you who was sure that time would be kinder. So why do people still choose it? Because there are moments. A meteor-streaked night, saved by a spell whispered under your breath, an infant's fever finally broken by herbs and a lullaby older than the town, the exact hum of a hearth warmed by enchantment. Those moments cut through the cynicism like sunlight through storm clouds. You mend a thing no medicine could touch. You see gratitude raw and human. The world is harsher and kinder for your meddling both at once. You will learn eventually to carry your power like a delicate instrument. You will discover ways to laugh about the robes and the runes and that one time you turned your comically nosy neighbor into a potted fern for the afternoon. You will teach an apprentice who brings you back to cartoons and cheap pizza and the smallness of ordinary joys. You'll come to terms with the grief that is part of the package and the beauty that is too. But that first morning, the one when your alarm dies and your phone refuses to ring and the houseplants stare at you expectantly, is still the worst. It's a cruel and glorious inheritance. It's a job where the tools occasionally try to eat you. The contract is ancient and slightly patronizing, and the training manual is written in rhymes that make sense until they don't. You can do incredible things, but incredible things come with costs. Loneliness, laundry that files complaints, and an ethics class that never, ever ends. That, in a nutshell, is why it sucks to be born a wizard. And also why, given the choice, you'd probably still take it, just maybe not on a Monday.